Secretary, please raise your hand.
All right, this time I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Jennifer B.
Hey, my name's Jennifer Brandt, and I'm an alcoholic. And I just want to say it's good to be home. I see a lot of familiar faces, and it just feels really good. So give me, as I'm aging, my eyesight is not what it used to be, so give me the heads up when I get to my 10 minutes. Be like, flash, flash, flash. Oh, awesome. Perfect, perfect. So I'm just going to qualify really quickly, and then I want to talk mostly about recovery. Alcoholism runs in my family. For me, I'm sure there's a genetic factor. My great-grandmother was schizophrenic. My grandfather is alcoholic. My dad's alcoholic. I'm alcoholic. I started drinking heavy liquor, hard liquor, when I was 11. We had family gatherings. My dad's side of the family is Jewish, so we did a lot of bar and bat mitzvahs, a lot of parties, and at first you were sneaking the booze, and then 2 years later you're telling the rabbi's mom, yeah, I want that screwdriver, and she would just go get it for you. So there was it was just a normal thing. It's just what we did. And I remember my first drink, though, funny enough, of hard liquor was actually on Christmas. My mom's side of the family wasn't Jewish, and we had eggnog, and they put rum in the eggnog. And starting about 11, I had that hole inside of me, and nothing could fill that. And then I had that eggnog with that rum, and it just felt that warmth going down my throat. And, they talk about in the big book, they're like, I have arrived. I was like, this is it. This is what I need, So I went back and had my second one, which was mostly rum with a touch of eggnog. And that's how my drinking went. About 3 years later, the parties ended. But I was a tomboy. I always played football and basketball and stuff. And I always had older guy friends who would get alcohol for me. I was a blackout drinker from the time I was 14. I was very shy and quiet, but when you put alcohol in my system, it was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I became very violent and very boisterous. And I slipped. It started out as a Halloween costume, and then it worked its way into a lifestyle. But I was a little punk rocker. And, I just wore it one Halloween. I'm like, this fits, And so I should have had my first DUI when I was 16. I was out with a bunch of girlfriends. I didn't remember till I was several years sober that we used to go drinking at what used to be a porno drive-in off of Belcher in Clearwater, because no one would pay attention to us. We would just go and drink, and we didn't pay attention to what was going on the screen. And we went out, and I went to my friend's sweet 16 birthday party, and I danced in a ballet company. She danced in another ballet company, and her and her buddy wanted to go to the movies. And in my two-seater car, and on the drive back, we were stopped by the police because there was a curfew in Pinellas County at that time. Oh, I didn't say this part. My sobriety date is November 9th, 1984. And I know that because that's the sign that was on the psych ward at the time. And underneath that it said, and it's sunny outside. So I have a strong affection for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because they had that sign in there, this weather outside, But when the police stopped us, it was curfew, and I was very scared, and he's like, do you know it's late? And there were two sheriffs, there were three of us, 16-year-old ballerinas, right? And so it became obvious quite early on that they weren't really interested in pulling me over for any other reason but to flirt with my friends. And so he's like, you have a hickey on your neck, and there's 3 girls in the car. And I was fight or flight when I was drinking. I said, that's because we're all lesbians. And they just were like, she's sick, step to the side, and then they were flirting with my friends. They were flirting. And I had vodka just pouring out of my pores, and I was getting nervous. And I finally told the sheriffs that, it was late, and our mothers were worried about us, and we needed to go home. And so they sent us home, and I had no DUI. So that was my run in there. But my drinking was just, I was garden variety drunk, just out of the big book. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, one personality was sober, another one I was drinking. And then by the time I'd reached my senior year in high school, you put the first drink in me, and I never knew what was going to happen or who I was going to be with. I was a blackout drinker, and I was very violent. I was thrown through a plate glass window right before prom one year, Isn't that what happens to everybody, And I had, my senior year, I had been accepted to the college I wanted, and I wanted to stop drinking, and I couldn't. I tried to put the brakes on, and no matter where I went, I couldn't stop. And my bottom emotionally for me came, I had left my 5-year-old sister in a swimming pool to go get my car, and she didn't know how to swim. And my brother, who was like 13, was in the house. And when I came back home and I was sober, I realized what I had done, and I knew that was the end. And since I couldn't stop at a certain point in November, I used to think my sobriety date was in October for the first few years, and then I remember we went out drinking. I mean, I was a mess. I got sober at 17. I was a mess, It took me a couple years to realize that my sobriety date was not October 7th, but November 7th. It's just the way it was. And I was just too busy being angst, being rebellious. But I came in, I was going to commit suicide. My mom knew something was wrong. She threw me in treatment. And I remember my first AA meeting, and I hope someone who's here for their first month of meetings gets this when they came in. I thought I was crazy until they threw me on the psych board. And then I realized I wasn't crazy. And that second night I was in treatment, they took me to an AA meeting, and they had the 12 steps and the traditions on the wall. And it felt like the weight of the world had been taken off my shoulders, because I knew I wasn't crazy, I was just an alcoholic, and that there was a cure, and these people had it, and they were happy, and I wanted what they had. Since that time, I've never, through the grace of God, through working the program, the steps, I've never had to pick up another white chip. And that was, next week, that'll be 28 years. And check the time. Oh, we're 2 minutes. Okay, so here's the lowdown. I love Bridging the Gap. I got my first sponsor straight out of treatment. God bless her. I was an angry little sober punk rocker who had to work through their anger issues. 9 months sober, I meant to move to New Orleans and go to college, because isn't that where all 18-year-old 9 months sober women should go to? And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. The sobriety there is strong. You're in or you're out. It was there that I did my third step with my spiritual advisor, who was a priest, and he was in seminary, and that was amazing. After that, I spent time overseas. I used to go to meetings in a blown-up section of Haifa, where all that was there was rubble and a door sticking out, and it was awesome. I came back to the States after that because, I wasn't supposed to live that long, and I didn't know what to do, so I got married and had a kid, and he's never seen me drink, and I really got involved doing my steps, and I was so young, and I was so angry, and I did everything the wrong way. And see, there's proof that there's still hope. Even if you're young and you're angry, eventually you'll become 45 and sober, And but what was always drilled into me from early on is service work, service work, service work. And I do believe in service. I got to meet Dr. Bob's son, and at a Founders Day in Pinellas County, and he said to me, he said, just pay it forward. He said they didn't know what they were doing at the time. And all they knew is if they helped another alcoholic, they got to stay sober another day. And that's the ripples of that is what's gotten us sober. And I just want to close with, if you want to keep it really simple, Dr. Bob used to write out on his prescription pad, trust God, clean house, and helps another alcoholic. And that's what I'd like to pass forward. Thanks.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right, Danielle will now read the traditions.
Hi, my name's Danielle. I'm an alcoholic. The 12 traditions. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6, an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Brad will now do the chips.
Brad, I'm an alcoholic. These chips represent some lengths of sobriety, and the first one that we have to give is a silver chip, and it represents surrender or 1 day. Is anyone gonna come take one? Surrender chip, 1 day. All right, this next chip is for 1 month. Susan and Jackie, this is 2 months. Is anyone taking a 2-month chip tonight? That was Misty, everybody. And 3 months. Anybody taking a 3-month chip home tonight? Regina and Kathy. Okay, we're moving on to 6 months. Anyone taking home a 6-month chip? 6 months. Did I hear go? That was Nicole, everyone. Who's taking home 9 months? Okay, we have one more. This is for a year or multiple. And give yourself a hand if you didn't drink today.
Thanks, Brad. All right, at this time I'd like to introduce our second speaker. This is Jerry L. from St. Pete.
Hi everyone, I'm Jerry Lobo, I'm an alcoholic. Hey Jerry. And it's good to be here, North County. That's, when my home group's the High Point group, and we meet on Saturdays at 8 o'clock, and we're down in Largo, so if you're ever down in Largo, please stop by. And I heard a lot about this meeting, so I'm really glad I have an opportunity to come and share here. It's by God's grace and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous that I haven't had to drink since June the 30th, 1995, and for that I'm extremely grateful. if you haven't figured it out by now, I was born and raised in India. And I just want to get this clear up front because I've been asked about this many times after I spoke. I do not know Dr. Patel. Someone asked me. There was someone who asked me if I'd eaten Indian food once, and how do you answer a question like that, right? So, but anyway, I grew up a mile away from the Arabian Sea. I grew up in Bombay. And I lived there till I was 19 years old. The common thing that runs in my life, that runs in the lives of all of us, I've come to find, is we feel less than. And I've always felt, since I was a child, I've always felt like I was a step behind the world. Just always. I lived a mile from the Arabian Sea. I lived in an area where there was a lot of money. All the movie industry, all the directors and producers in India live on the coast there, on the Arabian Sea. And I went to school with a lot of their kids. And while we walked to school and rode our bicycles to school, a lot of my friends were dropped off in chauffeur-driven cars. And if you're an alcoholic kid like I am, you start off just being a couple of steps behind the world, and when you see stuff like that, you're about 10 steps behind the world. And I hated it. I had resentments. And I've come to find that's a part of my spiritual malady. We talk about a spiritual malady, and that's what it is. Looking back, that's what I've come to believe, because I can be in the midst of paradise, and all I do is find what's wrong with my life. And that's been the story of my life since before I came into Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I was this kid that was always, I was a really happy kid and a mischievous kid, but I had that little part of me that always wanted someone else's parents. I wished that I had someone else's life, and I secretly envied that, and I just felt so bad inside. Now, I have 4 sisters who grew up in the same household, and they've just turned out perfect, And I thought India was the problem, the cause of all my problems. But I had a great childhood. I've got my parents have passed away, but I've got a really close family. God was really a big thing in our family, and I'm so glad for that, because the faith that I have today, it started back then. My mother and father passed away, but I have 4 sisters, and we're all spread out across the world. And but we're so close, all of us. And my mom had more faith in her little finger than I'll have in a lifetime. And every time we had a problem at home, the first thing Mom did was say, "Let's pray." And you know what we do when we run into problems in AA? The first thing my sponsor says, "Let's pray." It's almost like I was being trained for Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I had a great childhood. I picked up my first drink when I was about 14 or 15 years old. There was nothing social about my drinking whatsoever. I hit the ground running, and I just took off, and I loved it. And that feeling that I was chasing, 15 years before that, alcohol fixed. Alcohol filled that hole. Alcohol did for me what those years, that emptiness, I had with that emptiness. And, I'm convinced that I wrote my story way before I even knew what alcohol was. Every single feeling, every single emotion that I had, it just manifested when I drank alcohol. When I put alcohol in my body, all that pain suddenly went away, and I started trying to chase that high for the next 10 years. And of course, there was a lot of destruction, in my family. Drugs are a big part of my story for a couple of years, but I won't mention it. But drugs were a part, so that kind of accelerated the whole deal. I just love getting drunk. I just love alcohol, and I drank for the effect. There was no taste there, nothing. I just drank. We used to, I had a close bunch of friends, and we used to have parties sometimes, and And I always remember being the last one out of that party, and it was terrible, And my parents, thank God for them, and thank God for loving families. I really mean that. Thank God for loving families, and my mom and dad, they earned their ticket to heaven just dealing with me on earth. It's amazing. When I was about 19 years old, and all this stuff going on, and I don't want to be in India, and India is the cause of all my problems. My dad comes to me and says, "How would you like to go study in the U.S.?" So, hey, you know what? I jumped on that opportunity because it's pretty expensive to send someone from India to study in the U.S. It takes a lot of money, and my father worked really hard, and he really came from nothing, and they sacrificed a lot for me. So when I was 19 years old, I came here. I was so happy because now the problem's gone away, right? When we lived a very Western lifestyle. In India, we saw movies of, Saturday Night Fever and Grease and stuff like that, all the cool flicks. So I'm thinking, like, I'm gonna come to the U.S. and it's gonna be the same way. I'm just gonna meet a blonde like Sandy, and it's just gonna be it's just gonna be beautiful all the way. So that lasted for about a couple of years when I was here. So, but I come here, and we bring ourselves with us, right? So I'm here. I don't have any family around me, and I'm getting this money from abroad every month, from India every month. And of course, being an alcoholic, I don't know about you, but me, when I was out there, you give me like a lineup of 10 people to choose from as roommates, I'm going to choose the craphead, right? It's so I have an affinity for that. So anyway, I choose craphead roommates, and I've got this roommate. He's got his girlfriend living with him. I'm getting all this money from India, and I'm supporting him. I'm supporting his girlfriend. I'm writing back home to mom and dad that everything's going great. I'm doing all this. Thank God I have a little bit of. I've always taken my academics pretty seriously, and so I did my schoolwork well. But what happened to me was, I now realize what this obsession compulsion, we talk about it in Doctor's Opinion, and I used to go to school, and then I had a little part-time job, and then come 5 o'clock in the evening, some of my friends used to say, "Hey, you want to go have a couple of beers?" And I used to say yes, and the next thing I know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know how I got there. And I remember I did that so many times, and I used to come home and I have to go back to school at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just drunk, and I look and I look at myself in the mirror, and I promise myself that I'm going to come home that evening, and I'm going to do my homework, and I'm going to watch some TV. I'm going to go to bed, and come 5 o'clock, those famous words, "Hey, you want to go for a couple?" And before I can even think about it, something in me says yes. And the next thing I know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning again, and this goes on. And I understood that when I finally read the Doctor's Opinion. There's someone answers for me when it comes to alcohol. And as long as I keep that up, as long as I don't drink, that someone never answers. It doesn't have to answer again. So this went on, this ruinous. I had a great time, though. I moved away from those roommates, and I had some new roommates. And these guys were even better than the last one. I mean, these guys were real good. They were from all over the world. And I had a roommate from Portugal, from Iran, from Iraq. And it was like the United Nations, man. It was now I'm in the midst of people who are educated a little bit, because I've lost the losers now. These guys are educated. So we're going out every day, and we're having a few beers, and it was great because we used to go out. Of course, my friends have accents. They don't speak the Queen's English like I do. So, so we're sitting down, and we used to go out and pretended we couldn't speak English. It's the greatest thing. If you don't have a friend who's a foreigner, you should really get one. We're fun people. So we used to pretend we couldn't speak English, and it was great. We used to get free beer and chicken wings all the time. And it's great, if you go out and you pretend you can't speak English, the waitress comes up to you and you try to get your point across in broken English, and they say something like, "Welcome to America." And we used to have a great time. And just a little thing I want to share with you. If someone can't speak English, speaking louder and slower to them doesn't make them understand English. So we used to get the biggest kick of that, because people talk slower and louder, like, maybe you'll understand English now. But that went on, and I did the same thing. My friends were just having a good time, and what I realized, my drinking was getting progressively worse. They used to go home to do their home. They used to have a few beer, chicken wings, and go home. And I used to say, "I'll stay and I'll have a few more." And again, the same thing. I'm coming home later and later at night. And finally, they decided not to hang with me anymore. And so here I am alone. And then, and what I used to do, I used to hit these nightclubs and do something really crazy, and then go to the next club the next week. And I used to see some of the same people from the old club at the new place. And, in retrospect, I finally realized, losers travel in packs. And, we used to see all these people. Anyway, when I was about 24 years old, I'm on the campus of SBC, and I see this Indian girl walking across the campus, and I think it's a sign from God. So, I'm always looking for a sign from God, right? Even now. So, anyway, I stalk her for a little while. That's what we do. It's all about the stalking. So my last name does translate to wolf. So I stalk her for a couple of weeks, and then I anyway get to talk to her, and I tell her she's the gift from God that I've been looking for, and so 3 months later, we get married, because that's what a good Indian son does: get married to a good Indian girl. And now all my problems are over, and that started the 6 worst years of her life, and I honestly mean that. And because things never improve. For an addict and alcoholic, those things never improve. And and I had to make some serious amends to my ex-wife, because the way I was never supposed to be married. I was like a big kid, just totally incapable of being a husband, and it was almost like having a nanny. And it's so terrible to say that. I always commend people who were married and got drunk and got sober and said, "Well, I went to work and I was responsible." I wasn't. I was just like a total kid, and I put my ex-wife through a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Coming home late, and she used to stay up. And there were many nights that she used to call the 49th. I found this out later, but there were many nights she called the 49th Street Jail when I didn't come home to find out, if I was there. The stuff we put people through, as when we were in our addiction. And I embarrassed her every step of the way, and she was too nice. She wanted to leave, but she was too nice, and she used to say stuff like, "Why don't you get a job in California?" And I could never figure that out. And I said, "What about us?" She said, "Well, you can come back once a quarter to see me." And then she used to have this look in her eye, and I only made sense of it later on, when she left. The look that we get from people, they don't have to say anything, but that look, and that look that says, "I don't have the courage now, but one day I will have the courage, and I'm going to dump your loser ass," It was that look in her eyes, and wow. So, but anyway, she always told me that if I got a DUI, that she was going to leave. It was just getting terrible. I was drinking, and I was just not there. was just not there. And I put her through a lot of really hard times, and she hung in there. And but she did say, if you ever get a DUI, I'm going to leave. And of course, the fear of someone leaving is never deterred an alcoholic. So I'm saying, oh, okay. An Indian woman never leaves an Indian man. I'm here to tell you that's wrong. It's on the 10th of June. I'm going to fast forward because I want to get to some of my recovery. On the 10th of June, 1995, I was out doing my thing. It was actually the 10th of June, 1995. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night. On a Saturday, I was coming home, drunk again, driving, which always really, it sends chills through my spine there every time I think of the times I drank and drove and what I could have done. And God's been real good to me. And I was coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I could have sworn I saw this road coming out the side of US 19, and I turned down it, and there was no road. And it was a ditch, and I got stuck in the ditch, and the last thing you want to do is get stuck in a ditch, drunk, Saturday night at 2 o'clock in the morning, Saturday at 2 o'clock in the morning. And of course, friendly Clearwater cop comes by to help me, and and he knew. I mean, I was really reeking of alcohol, and he starts giving me the sobriety test, and I'm drunk, so I'm just gung-ho and all cocky and smiling and, falling all over the line. And then I see him do one of these numbers and talking to his lapel. And then suddenly another cop car shows up, and then I'm kind of looking around, what's going on? And it was at that time when they still were using those big camcorders. They didn't have the dashboard cams yet, so I see this other cop step out of the car with this camcorder, and he starts recording me, and now reality is setting in, and they put the cuffs on me, and and all that, what macho men do when they're busted, right? They start crying, right? So I'm just bawling my eyes out. Please let me go home. I'll walk. He said, it's too late. Anyway, I go to 49th Street Jail, and for some reason, when he was taking me there, I knew everything was done. Deep down inside, I knew everything was done. I knew there was something going to happen. I just didn't know what. And he took me to 49th Street Jail, and I've got these really party clothes on, and they put me in this cell with this guy, and he must have seen me coming a mile away because he scared the crap out of me. I'll tell you, I'd never been to jail before, and he goes, "You're going down, man." Yeah, he was really scaring me. He says, they're gonna put you away for a long, long time. I am really scared at this time. I'm thinking Midnight Express, right? I'm thinking I'm going to be the warden's girlfriend in the morning, So, but anyway, I get out of jail. I go home. My ex-wife's sitting on the couch. She's got a little suitcase. I walk in, she walks out, and that's the last time she ever stepped in that house, that apartment again. And that started. It's weird how in retrospect, everything does work out for the best. And my sisters were coming in from Canada that day, so I picked them up that evening, that afternoon, and they asked me how their sister-in-law was doing, and I said, well, up to last night she was doing really good. But my youngest sister called, Alcoholics Anonymous that evening, and I of course, she got the helpline, and I know all about the helpline because I did the helpline for a few years. And I pick up the phone and I'm telling this guy on the helpline how my wife had just left me, and he listened for a long time, and then he said, if you hurry, there's a meeting right down the street where you live. It's an 8 o'clock meeting. If you hurry, you'll get there in time. And he hung up on me. That really got me, like the cheek of him, like hanging up on me. So I go for my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting on the 10th of June, 1995. And that's not when I quit drinking. I go there. I don't want to be there. And I go and sit in the meeting. And of course, we love to kill newcomers when they come in. Just talk at them. So someone looks at me and says, well, "You're the most important person in the room." And I remember saying to myself, "You're damn right I am." So as soon as that meeting was over, I thought you guys made me really thirsty. So I ran to the pub that I used to drink at, and at 9 o'clock, and I told all my friends at the bar I had just come from an AA meeting, and we all toasted to it. And if you're new, I don't suggest this, but I drank for the first couple of weeks that I was in Alcoholics Anonymous, and actually it was really fun. I went for an 8 o'clock meeting every night, and at 9 o'clock it was almost like Cheers. I ran to the bar, and when I went, and everyone was gathered around me to find out what we talked about at AA meetings. It was really good stuff. On the 29th of June, I had just come from an AA meeting, and I was sitting down at the bar, and there was a friend of mine from Jordan, and she was a real good friend, but she was going through a divorce also, and so we were just sharing our misery. I had just come from the meeting, and it was 2 for 1 that night, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was 2 for 1, so I ordered 4 because I never want to run out of alcohol. And I had these 4 rum and cokes sitting right in front of me, and they had little slices of lime and little stirrers, and I'd stirred them all up. I'd not even taken a sip, and I'm having a talk with my friend, and I told her about the meeting that I had just come from, and she looks at me and says, "Are you allowed to drink when you go for those meetings?" And they say God works in mysterious ways, and I look at her and I said no, and I walked away, and I've never had to pick up a drink since. Yeah, and I said, you know what? I've been fooling those people, and it was close to the 30th. It was coming up on the 30th of June, so my sobriety date is 30th of June. God works in mysterious ways, and when I look back, we all have that one. And I felt intrinsically different the next day. I had felt something had changed in me. We all have that one microsecond in our lives where I think God steps in and flicks that little switch in us that only alcohol can fix. And it was about 9:35 at that time, and I think we all have that 9:30 and 9:31 in our lives where we can never replicate that one moment where we're too stupid to do anything but surrender, and that was my moment, and it was an incredible feeling. I woke up that morning and I was different, and I'd like to say that I did everything well in AA. My first 2 years, my mom was really sick, and I was going through a divorce, and so it was really hard. And thank God for loving sponsors, because Bill just loved me. I mean, he absolutely loved me. Never. He let me experience. He knew I didn't want to drink. He used to say, "Well, I used to call him up and tell him how badly I was feeling." He says, "Well, if you're feeling, what are you doing about it? If you don't feel well, go drink." He didn't know. He knew I didn't want to drink. An alcoholic who wants to drink will never call up a sponsor and say, "I'm going to drink." They just go drink, and he knew that. Bill had been around for a little while. I couldn't lose that old man. I'm telling you, he's just like right there all the time. And of course, my wife's gone. We're going through this divorce, and of course, I try to salvage a relationship only after it's ended. So I'm trying to call my wife and pretending that I want to know how she's doing. Actually, what I wanted was just beg her to come back. Beneath every alcoholic is a raging codependent, man, I'm telling you. Bill, I used to work with Bill, and he used to tell me, "Now, Jerry, do not call her. You hear me?" I said, yeah, Bill, of course, I'm not going to call her. Let go and let God. But when someone says no to me, I don't hear no, I hear maybe. And I used to finish working with Bill, go sit in my car, and then my mind used to start talking to me and says, he didn't say don't call her. He said, maybe you can call her. So I always agree with myself. So I used to call her and she used to just tongue lash me again, and I used to run back to Bill, and he used to say, "You'll quit when you've had enough." And I did. I did. There was a time when I said I don't need to experience this anymore, and that was a great moment in time when I was able to let go, and I started working the steps, and I started working the steps with Bill, and my experience has been awesome in Alcoholics Anonymous. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I've had bumps. A lot of bumps in the road. My mother passed away, and I went back home to make amends. I mean, I had made amends to her, and thank God I did. And thank God I did. And I went back when Mom died, and I didn't get there in time. I went. It's a long trip to India, and I went back and I did what you people told me, and it was awesome. And I went, to this little cemetery in India, and it was 4 years. I was 4 years sober at that time, and I took my 4-year medallion and I put it in the mud. And every time I go back home, I go to that little cemetery where Mom and Dad are, and I put my medallion there. And there's a 4-year medallion and a 13-year medallion in the ground in this little cemetery in Bombay, and it's good. And it's my life has been awesome. I've had the opportunity to I love sponsorship. We must cross the line in Alcoholics Anonymous where we turn from takers to givers. And I think my recovery really took on a new dimension when I started sponsoring people. And I've got some great sponsees. I've had the opportunity to travel a little all around the world, and I've gone for AA meetings all over the place. And I want to tell you a couple of stories. Number one, I just want to talk about God. My relationship with God is awesome, is beyond imagination. I've always been close to God, and since I was a child. And it's this faith has really improved. And so when I came to AA and they started talking about God, that kind of attracted me, and I returned to the religion of my choice. I always was a part. When I came to AA, I left for a little while, but I've gone back. And I know we say spirituality is God-given and religion is man-made, and whatever it is, it's all the same to me. I practice my religion spiritually, and I practice my spirituality religiously, and it's all the same to me. And the very God that I find in these rooms, I find in church when I go there, and it's all good. It's just been an incredible experience. I had gone back to India in 2008, I think, yeah, and I went to this little village where my father was born, and this little village didn't have electricity till 1972. That's how small a village it is. And if you don't think God exists, there's an AA meeting there, and it was awesome. I rounded this corner looking for this AA meeting, and I see this big banner that says Savior of the World Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I went in there, and I didn't speak the language, and I sat down there, and the meeting was like an hour and a half. And but I felt the same. I felt like I just walked into my home group, and the people were the same, and it was really good. And what they do in that part of the world during the meeting, they'll come and they'll serve you tea and sandwiches and stuff. I'm trying to get my home group to do that, but they're not going for it. But it was great. They serve you tea and sandwiches, and even though I didn't understand the language, it was fun. I went back the next day only for the food, really, and it was fine. And what I did was I took a picture of that little room. I asked them if I could take a picture of their meeting room, and I sent that picture to the Grapevine, and they printed it. And that's my most prized possession. That Grapevine that for that month has that little picture of my meeting room in India, and. It's been great. I've had a couple of experiences. I'll tell you one of the bestest experience I've had, if bestest is a word, and then I'll go. It was about 5 years ago. No, it was more than 5 years. It was like 7 or 8 years ago. I was in the UK visiting my sister, and it was close to Christmas time. And whenever I travel, I call Alcoholics Anonymous and just make sure that I have a meeting to go to. And so I get this guy by the name of Richard. So when I get to the UK, I call Richard up, and he says, "Oh yeah, I'll come and pick you up." And this old English hippie comes over, and we're driving to this meeting, and it's about a week before Christmas. And he's talking to me, and he says, "Yeah, Eric left a message on my voicemail." Eric, okay. So we just driving around. He says, "Yeah, his band is going to be playing at the New Year's Eve dance, and they have a huge New Year's Eve dance there. It's like 2,000 people, right?" He says, "Yeah, ever since his kid, died, he's moved back to Guildford, and now I'm getting real curious. He's talking about Eric Clapton, right?" And we were going for a meeting that Eric was supposed to be there that night, and of course he says, "Yeah." He was talking about Eric like Eric was his brother or something. He says, "Yeah, he's probably going to be there tonight." So I'm almost jumping out of the car at this point. So my mind races forward as to what I'm going to say to Eric. I'm thinking maybe we can talk about shortcomings or something like that. Just maybe I'll get to hold his hand during the Our Father or something. It would have to be gently, lest I squeeze his guitar pinkies. So all this stuff's going on in my mind. We get to the meeting. That was the day that Eric Clapton was knighted by the Queen of England. So he wasn't at the meeting, but he had spoken there at the meeting, that meeting the week before. So it was just an awesome feeling to be at a meeting that Eric Clapton goes to. Anyway, I had the time of my life. I went for that New Year's Eve dance, and I heard the Eric Clapton band with no security, with 2,000 other drunks when we danced the night away. I saw him from 15 feet away, and I would have missed it all had I not been sober. What an incredible experience. And he goes through a bunch of songs, and then the next person who comes out is Ringo Starr, and I see Ringo Starr. Yeah, it was. And I went home that night and I just wept. I mean, what an experience that was. No security, just everyone just happy and celebrating recovery. And my life is awesome today. I love life. It's not perfect, but that's what we get by working the steps, right? We go from the outside to the inside to come back out. And when we come back out, hopefully our insides match our outsides. And so when I tell people you get what you see, I really mean that, because you're getting what's inside of me. And it's just been an awesome life. It's a healed life. That's what we get in Alcoholics Anonymous. A healed life, not free of pain and suffering, but a healed life. I can live today, I can love big, and I can have a lot of friends. So I'm just about running out of time. I really appreciate this opportunity to come and speak to you. I wish I had some more time. You guys have been excellent, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Jerry. All right, we've passed the basket in accordance with the seventh tradition, which states that we be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. If you'd like to become a member of this group, please see me or any other group member after the meeting. Would group members please raise your hands? All right. If anyone is able to become a sponsor, please raise your hand. All right, and Matt C. has announcements.
Hey! Good evening, everybody. My name's Matt. I'm an alcoholic. Next week, upcoming speakers. Next week, we have Wayne B. from Chicago, Illinois. November 16th, we have Toby T. from Tampa. November 23rd, we have Annie from St. Pete. November 30th is going to be our anniversary meeting, and we have Ann R. from Ozona. I want to welcome all the newcomers, people who picked up chips, people who are just coming in. If you're looking for a home group, please see me after the meeting or any of the home group members. We'll get you signed up, get you making coffee, and you can show up early and fix everybody like I do. Nobody? After the meeting tonight, we are going to Steak and Shake at Little Road and 54. So join us, have some dinner. Literature and speaker CDs are available for a donation on your terms, or you can visit our website and download them completely for free. Home group members speaking. Tomorrow, Sasha will be speaking at the Miracle Group at 7 o'clock at the A Club. It's going to be a good time. Show up. Treatment facility meeting is the second Saturday of every month at the A Club at noon. Show up, get involved. There's a women's meeting every Monday night at 6:30 at the A Club. They always request that I announce this. Women with time, show up, please. Gratitude dinner is November 17th at St. Michael's Catholic Church off State Road 52. Speaker will be Dave P. from Jacksonville. Tickets are going to be $10, and groups are asked to donate a basket. These kind of events help fund our district, so please donate as much as you can. Softball game tomorrow. Warm-up is going to be at 12, and the game's going to be at 1. We are again playing another fellowship, and it's very important that you show up to support us. So please show up and support us. All home group members, very quickly, we have one thing to vote on tonight. Please show. We're just going to do this directly after the Lord's Prayer, so come up to the front and we'll get this done quickly. Thank you very much.
And Brooke will read the 10-step promises.
Hi, I'm Brooke. I'm an alcoholic. And these are the 10-step promises. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as if from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition.
And Susan's going to come close us out with the 12th tradition.
I'm an alcoholic. My name is Susan Coe. And finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, that we are actually to practice a genuine humility, this to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of Him who presides over us all. Help me close this meeting with the Lord's Prayer, please.
members.
What is the date? Oh, thank you. Second. 11/2. And this was, what, 7 o'clock meeting? What's that?
Do you know where the rest of the papers are?
I don't. They usually go into the basket. I don't know where they end up. That's,
If it's okay.
Chris. Yeah. Just show them. You should be able to.
Where are you playing?
Mitchell Field.
What time? 1 o'clock. I'm going to see my group in the morning.
I'll bring your
I'm doing meetings, so I might be.
7 to 11.
Alright. Yeah, I'll be at the dog show today. That's good, dude.
How come you never go play softball with them?
I work on Saturdays.
See you later.
Hey, just call me tomorrow. Call me at like 11 or 12. He works with me at Panera. He goes to he comes on nights sometimes. I don't know. I was wondering about that.
Home group members, come on up to the front, please. Why don't you say it?
All right, I'm not going to say it in the microphone. Last week at the business meeting, we didn't talk about if we want to donate to the gratitude dinner, which we do every year, gratitude dinner and the anniversary dinner. We need to, if we are going to do it, it's got to be done before our next business meeting. So we'll I make a motion to call a vote to decide if we're going to, and then if we are, we'll move forward. All right, so Matt, you want to call the vote?
All
For the gratitude dinner, give money to them.
All in favor of donating to the gratitude dinner? Excellent. Any opposed?
That's what we did last year.
Okay. We have 232 in the outside of prudent
Plus
reserve.
tonight, plus last week.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
Let me borrow $100.
all in favor of 100?
All in favor of donating $100 to the gratitude dinner?
Beautiful.
Any opposed?
Hey, and
Okay.
if they don't need money, then someone's going to make a basket. So there you go.
Can we elect somebody to make a basket?
Yeah. I elect
Belly! Ready, break.
Quick vote. Softball's at noon. We go meet over there. We will. What do you want to do? Come and eat.
I gotta talk about it.
Yeah. Find out if you can. I'll bring it home.
Okay.
Help me break this shit down real quick.
I got 15 minutes.
have it instead of your basket. We just, because at the time, everybody was buying it, so we would just give money. Just buy what they needed.
There should be two of them.
There's sheets over there. Where are they? I didn't know I was in the microphone.
The baskets are full of sheets.
They're making an objection. Did you hear me? Dan's making an objection.